Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing the US-Thai Treaty of Amity. Had somebody send an article to me. I'm going to go ahead and discuss it here in a second, but basically their question was, does the US and Thailand have a quote-unquote special relationship? I think it would kind of be a fair statement. Now, the article specifically they sent me when they asked me this, they were asking me in the context of the Treaty of Amity. They said, is this sort of under the treaty? And the treaty is really a commercial treaty, although the United States and Thailand have other agreements. The Treaty of Amity itself is a commercial agreement, as I've discussed many times on this channel before. Pursuant to the terms of the treaty, an American wishing to do business in Thailand can be granted quote-unquote national treatment in order to do such business, so long as they meet certain formalities. And if they're granted national treatment, they can basically operate very much as a Thai would operate in Thailand, and they can basically overcome such issues as things like the Foreign Business Act, where you have to have 5149 Thai to foreign shareholding sort of set up. Under the Treaty of Amity, it is possible for Americans to do business in Thailand with 100% corporate ownership by Americans or American company. That's kind of the commercial sort of aspect of all of this. But the reason I got, the person who sent me this, sent me an article from the Bangkok Post, bangkokpost.com. Article is titled, "Officers Sought to Bond U.S.-Thai Militaries." Quoting directly, "The Cabinet has approved a draft memorandum of understanding in which the Royal Thai Armed Forces, RTARF, would station a liaison officer at the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command," said a source. "The draft MOU between the Thai Defense Ministry and the U.S. Department of Defense involves the appointment of an officer to work at the post in Hawaii for 1 year," said the source. Yeah, this specifically doesn't really speak to the person who sent me this. This doesn't really specifically speak to the issue of the Treaty of Amity. The Amity Treaty is a commercial treaty for Americans doing business here in Thailand, or for that matter, for Thais doing business in America. Things like the E2 visa, the U.S. visa for investors in the United States, very much operates sort of under the light, if you will, under the auspices of the Treaty of Amity, because Thais can go to America and engage in businesses under an E2 investor visa, very similarly to the way Americans can come to Thailand and do business here. But yeah, with respect to this, well, I will say this sounds like a really cool thing, and I think it's probably a good idea that Thailand engages in that way. That definitely has more to do with sort of the defense agreements between Thailand and the United States and those sort of issues. And people have brought up that, they've asked, the person that sent me this asked, this is the first time Thailand's been doing this, notwithstanding the fact that, the United States and Thailand routinely deal with things like Cobra Gold here in Thailand, which is a joint operation, joint training exercise that they do down here. It goes back a long ways. There's a major history of that. Yeah, but this really doesn't surprise me. There's a number of people from there's a number of countries that engage with the United States in a similar manner, both inside this region and outside this region. So I'm not really overall surprised. I think it just kind of dovetails, in a way with the overall relationship between Thailand and the United States that's been going on now for nearly 190 years. If you go back and look at the history of the treaties and the agreements between Thailand and the United States, there is quite a long history of cooperation between the U.S. and Thailand in both Southeast Asia and globally.